Howdy, Redesert Boy here. So we talked about what we might use for winter carry because of people having, more clothing on, things like that, making sure we can get our, we'll probably take our gloves off or make sure our finger will fit in the trigger guard with the gloves on. Thinking about things like that, maybe using an external pocket carry on a heavy coat with the appropriate pocket holster like the DeSantis Nemesis or something like that might work out okay for you. As you know, in addition to using maybe a shoulder holster versus your normal strong side, maybe even a cross draw might even be easier. But I think probably the shoulder holster or using a pocket holster on an exterior pocket, something like that is probably a little easier in those situations. And you're probably going to need something that's a little more powerful. A 38 is probably about the minimum, a 38 special, I would say. Just due to penetration and stuff. I know some of the folks on YouTube that do a lot of those tests, they especially advocate that a lot of times just a wad cutter or any type of solid, maybe even a lead round nose or something is better with the lower caliber guns that don't really develop enough muzzle velocity so that hollow points are that effective even during normal weather and conditions. So which guns would I probably, I'm not going to say that they're not better, they're better, that they're not effective in the sense that at least you have one to defend yourself if you choose to do that, if you choose to have that. But ones I probably would consider not the first choice for the winter time due to just the size of the bullet, and some of them do have higher muzzle velocity like the 22 Magnum, but they just don't have that much mass. And then some of them, like say a 32 H&R Magnum might be fine, or a 327 Federal, of course. But say a 32 Smith & Wesson Long, it might be a little bit down in the power scale, or even maybe a 380. So let's take a look at some of those that might fall in that category. So for me, I have this 351 PD. It's got 7 rounds of 22 Magnum, okay? And it's a very handy gun, right? We can see that it's unloaded, and the nice thing about it's got 7 rounds, but 40 grains or 30 grains or something may not penetrate that, and oftentimes they're using hollow points or maybe copper plated round lead, and I would probably not use my 351 PD, although it would still be very handy in certain situations. It's probably not as effective for penetration with people, wearing something like winter clothing. So just something to think about there. Another one that I really like, and of course I have an H&R as well in this caliber. I have this H&R, but it's not a Magnum, it's just an H&R 32. That shoots Smith & Wesson Long and probably shorts. Is my I-frame, which is a third model hand ejector, and it has 6 rounds in 32, which makes it kind of handy with this 3.25 inch barrel, but it's about 1940 vintage, but it's not going to have the kind of muzzle velocity maybe to get that done. And that's probably true with a 25 ACP or a 32 ACP in those situations for automatics as we move in that direction. So I probably would not choose to carry this one in most cases. And of course, although I love the portability of it and everything, I have my Sig Sauer P365-380. Can carry 10 rounds in there. I think I have a 12 round magazine too. I can't quite remember if it's 12 or 13. I think it's 12. You can see it's empty, but this here is a 380. Now it's probably just below, you know, what 38 can do, because it's got, you know, 38s have a little more mass. You know, they can have a lot more mass than maybe a 380. You know, and just below this is, you know, it's going to be like the 32 and 25 ACPs, like I said. But this maybe wouldn't be enough to get the penetration. It just kind of depends. So those are the ones I would probably decide not to carry so much in the wintertime, even though they're very handy, because they're very small and, you know, concealable. Once again, you know, better to have some level of protection if you feel the need for it, and you're trained and you're following all your local, state, and federal firearms laws, permits, and all that, getting the training that you need. If you feel like you need it in situations you might face, than to be without. But you know, better if you make that judgment. But you know, for me, I would probably rather have something than nothing. But you know, that's up to everybody to decide. So just something to think about. So as Reed Desert Boy always says, be safe out there, whatever you're doing. Bye now.